Give me one reason to stay here, then I'll turn right back around. Give me one reason to stay here, then I'll turn right back around. Said I don't wanna leave you lonely. You gotta make me change my mind. Baby, I've got your number, and I know that you got mine. You know that I called you, I called too many times. You got to call me, baby. You can call me anytime. You got to call me. Give me one reason to stay here, then I'll turn right back around. Give me one reason to stay here. Oh, I'll turn right back around. Said I don't want to leave you lonely. You better make me change my mind.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest episode of I'm No Joe, your home for all things combat sports, and the place where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. The views and opinions presented on the I'm No Joe channel belong solely to the person expressing them, no one else. If we say it, that means we meant it. That being said, this show does contain adult themes, adult content, and general shit that you shouldn't be letting your kids intake. Be advised, viewer discretion is recommended. Proceed at your own risk. You've been warned. To paraphrase the infallible Chuck Todd, if it's Thursday, it's I'm No Joe. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, we have got a glorious panel here to break down and get into the shit talking and shenanigans we are known to get up to on this channel here. So before we get into all the fun times and fuckery we're about to ensue upon, thank you, gentlemen, for your time this evening. First and foremost, the kid is back. He's even on time-ish this week. We didn't have to worry about any car accidents or computer fuckery. How you doing, RJ?
Or just me being at work right now. So I had the day off, which was great. Doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. I'm not going to do the promo to start. I'm going to end it with a promo. So I'm just doing good, man. I'm just doing good. Glad to be here. Glad to see TJ here tonight.
Hell yeah. So on that note, as is the case more often than not across the octagon from myself, my Wednesday night homeboy, my Thursday night combat shit talking compatriot, the one and only Golf T Vapes. How you doing, brother?
I'm here. I'm ready to talk some kicky punchies, and my apologies to everyone that I missed last week. Had a whole lot of family shit going on this last week, so missed last week, and I almost didn't make it this week, but I decided the ball needs to keep rolling, so yeah.
That's all good. I understand. I had a whole bunch of family shit going on this week. That's why I didn't have a Tuesday show, and it's why I wasn't there last night. It almost didn't do tonight. I'm on that same boat, so I feel you. I appreciate you, brother. So, on that note, as we like to do around here before we get into the news and the craziness that has happened since we saw you last. We do like to start off with a little bit of a recap from last weekend's fun times. UFC 266. I have got to say, we talked about it a little bit in the group chat during the course of the week. In my opinion, early prelims and the prelims combined as a whole, better than any fight night we have seen in 2021 so far. The 266 prelims were on fucking point. Absolutely fucking good time, start to finish. Opening fucking fight, Omar Morales taking on JSP Jonathan Pierce. Morales came in with the sloppiest and ugliest fucking Darce attempt you have ever seen. And it was ironic because it only set him up for that JSP choke to get fucking tapped himself by submission. Props to JSP for opening with a fucking sub, especially after Morales tried to sub him to get him right out of the fucking gate. So that was nice to fucking see. There was definitely some fucking fire in them boys getting the card open with that shit. Stepping up from there, Semi, the fucking Jedi, god diggity damn, that motherfucker looked lean. He looked in better shape than we have possibly ever seen him walking out to the UFC octagon before. And it fucking showed. 15 seconds is all that young man needed to send Martin Sano into the fucking nether realms. Just absolutely fucking beautiful KO shot to just get the fucking building rocking and on goddamn fire. That man is going to be a very big problem for that division very quickly if he keeps that fucking routine up. That'll bring us to the complete up in the air fight of the evening. Two last minute debut gentlemen, Cody Brundage versus Nick Maximoff. For two dudes who made their fucking debuts Saturday night, they absolutely showed all these other fucking up and comers how you're supposed to fucking do it. They came out there and went to a 15-minute fucking knockdown, drag out war. How that didn't get fight of the fucking night is beyond me, because those two boys left everything in the goddamn octagon and it had the whole fucking building on fire. So props to both of those fucking dudes. I think both of those dudes have a very, very bright potential future in the UFC. That'll bring us to the quote unquote premier early prelim fight. I don't generally put a whole lot of stock in superstitions. We can basically see every fucking curse be broken. We've seen every fucking good luck charm fail. So we generally don't have a lot to go on when it comes to MMA superstition. One thing that generally is not really the most popular, I'd say, but definitely something spoken about in the MMA world is that if you are in title contention, I would say, if you are chasing the belt, but you aren't there yet, look but don't touch. It is the original Bruce Buffer curse. Unless you are basically top 5, 7-ish at best, look at the belt, but don't actually put hands on it, because you jinx yourself. You end up getting yourself short-sighted. You forget about the path to the belt, and all you think about is the belt itself. And we saw in the embedded series last week, at one point at the UFC PI, there were several of the fighters in there walking in the octagon to do some pictures and shit. And Alexander Volkanovski handed Euros Medic the belt to put on his shoulder and feel, kind of get the experience, which I get. It's a cool gesture, but then we come back to the fight on Saturday, and Euros Medic gets in there against Jalen Turner and just looked like he was not ready to be there at all. Turner almost made it look absolutely fucking easy. And we've seen Medic come out like a fucking beast before. So this is an absolute unusual performance for him. And the only thing we can really attribute it to, since if you look at his socials, he looked great coming into fight week. The only thing we can really attribute it to is the look, but don't touch curse. He put that fucking belt on his shoulder. He slapped it a couple times. He says, this feels nice. Brother, you're not even ranked yet. You might have just shot yourself in the foot, because as soon as you turned around and got in the fucking cage before Alex, subbed out, homie. And to be fair, Turner was hunting. Turner was hurting him with body shots long before he locked that fucking submission in. Just absolutely fucking phenomenal. And that's 2 choke submissions in a row for Jalen Turner at that. So it's starting to look like he might be taking this a little more seriously than he did early on in his UFC career opportunity, however you want to phrase that. But that is absolutely fucking awesome to see, because he's a 6'3", 355-pound fucking fighter, and lightweights generally don't come that fucking big. So that could be a very interesting puzzle to watch him climb the ladder in that lightweight division. And if he keeps growing like this, it's going to be hard to fucking deny him. So there is that. That'll bring us into our prelim card, man. I'm telling you, the earlies and the prelims combined were better than any fucking fight night, UFC fight night card we've seen in 2021 so far. Opening fucking fight, Roxanne Matafari versus Tyler Santos. This, in my opinion, was probably the low point of all of the earlies and the prelim fights. And not to say that it was a boring fight, just that Tyler Santos isn't really that great and didn't really look that great. It just kind of looked like Roxanne Matafari is starting to feel the miles that she's got on her. She might not be the highest ranked, she might not be the most popular, but she has been competing at the highest level for a long fucking time, and eventually those road miles start to add up. She's no spring chicken. She's not in her prime anymore. So it seems like Matafari might be starting to tail off, and Santos, being the younger, more energetic fighter, just had too much for her to deal with this weekend. So, hats off to Matafari for always being a fucking soldier, trooping on through. But, Santos got the better of her, took her to the UD. Good on her. That being said, I'm not 100% sure if, even with the win over Shamil, that Dawkins is really ranked high enough yet to be calling out Stipe. I do get the irony of, the irony, I guess, of the firefighter versus the cops fight, and the call out was kind of half-hearted and it was jokingly, and I get that, and that's cool. But on a serious level, though, Chris Dawkins is quickly becoming a problem in that heavyweight division. He's a young, strong, up-and-coming motherfucker who does not care. He'll step in with anybody, and he's willing to make the call-outs on all the big names. So it's only going to be a matter of time, realistically, before he is fighting the likes of, excuse me, a Stipe or a John Jones, if we ever see that piece of shit again. We'll talk more about him later. Or give him, the winner of Francis versus fucking Cyril, or, however it shakes loose. He's going to have a number next to his name. It's going to be a respectable number, and he's going to be hard to keep out of the conversation in the top of the division real soon if he just keeps doing exactly what he is doing now. So that is very fucking cool. He looked 100% stoically measured and in control the fucking whole time. Actually got 2 fucking KOs in on that fucking fight. If you go back and watch the replay, just a ridiculous set of events leading up to the stop, but good on Chris Dawkins for getting that win. Moving on to probably the most talked about fight on the entire card last weekend, Dan Hooker versus Nasrat Haqparast. 2 dudes who literally, up until the very last possible fucking minute, were both fighting to get their visas cleared so that they could actually show up in Vegas to make the fight. Luckily, both of them did. Nasrat clearly, if you know the story, went through more of an ordeal than Dan Hooker did. Excuse me. But when it came down to getting in the octagon, I don't know if it was everything that was leading up to this fight just taking so much of a toll on him, which is understandable given he literally lost his mother in the lead up to this fight. So I get that. Whether it was the amount of travel and stress that he was under, or the fact that he just isn't quite as experienced as Dan Hooker is. He just didn't quite look on the same page. He was there step for step, but just a little behind everything Hooker was doing. Great fucking fight, start to finish. He's absolutely going to bounce back. It wasn't a devastating, unfucking recoverable loss, but on the other side of that, goddamn, Dan Hooker looked fucking great Saturday night. His timing was crisp. His striking was crisp. His defense was on fucking point. His movement was constant and fluid. He looked very, very good. You could tell he was wanting to get the taste of that fucking Chandler bullshit out of his fucking mouth and out of his brain. And I think he did a damn good job of doing just that. Now, I'm going to need to take a drink before we get into this one because holy shit. So, the premier prelim match of the evening, Saturday night. Magic Marlon Moraes versus Merab the Machine Dvalishvili. Holy fucking shit. I'm not exaggerating when I say this could possibly be nominated for the greatest comeback in a fight we might have ever seen. Round one, Marlon caught Merab clean. I mean, caught him good, clean, and fucking had him hurt and in trouble. And unfortunately, in Marlon Moraes fashion, the second he smelled the slightest bit of blood in the water, he absolutely emptied the fucking gas tank. And to be fair, 99.99% of everyone who's ever been in any fight seeing their opponent in that condition would have done the same fucking thing. The difference is that we have seen in the past that this is genuinely a weakness of Marlon's, is that he doesn't hold anything back when he goes in on these maneuvers. He literally will empty his entire fucking gas tank. And unfortunately for Marlon, that's exactly what he did here. And even more unfortunately for Marlon, Merab genuinely is a fucking machine. He took it. He was never 100% out, even though he was absolutely very clearly hurt. But he weathered the storm. He gathered himself and he turned it back around to absolutely destroy Marlon Moraes for the entire 4 minutes and 25 seconds of that second round and what was left of the first round as he turned it around before he just absolutely shut the fucking show down. I don't know that we have ever seen anyone come back from being as out looking as Merab very clearly was when Marlon caught him in round one. But the amount of testicular fortitude to just hold it out, grit your fucking teeth down, ride it out, turn that shit around the second you see your first opportunity, and then just give him the goddamn business. I think everyone at 135 pounds better start going back and watching every single moment of Merab's fight footage there is in the UFC, because that dude is about to set a fucking land speed record for flying up a ladder so fucking quick. After everything we have seen him do, Merab has looked better every single time we saw him in the octagon, and this genuinely will 100% have been the most opposition that we have seen him have to confront in the UFC, and he handled it like it was just another fucking Tuesday in the office. That's scary as shit, man. That dude at 135 pounds, with every shot he throws, has bad intentions and wants to knock you the fuck out and take your head clean off your shoulders. So not only did he knock Marlon the fuck out, but in my opinion, he sent a very strong message to everyone in the 135-pound division. You better pay fucking attention, because the machine is coming. I'm telling you right now, the machine is coming. Now, unfortunately, that'll bring us into the main card. And of all of the fights on the entirety of Saturday night, two of the weakest performances overall, in my opinion, were the two opening fights on the main card. The first two pay-per-view fights, the first two fights you had to pay money to watch, were the worst on the entire card, in my opinion. Anybody who has seen anything social media wise, be it from the UFC, from Andrade, or from Calvillo, leading up to this fight, pretty much knew exactly how this was going to go. There was very little doubt that Andrade was going to knock Calvillo the fuck out or TKO her at some point in the fight, but there was very, very little hope from any realist that this fight was going to go Calvillo's way or even make it to a judge's decision realistically. And it was just that. 454, round one. In my opinion, that really just shows that there's nobody at 125 who's got it. Valentina has essentially cleared out that division with her 7th fucking title defense. This is also part of the reason why after that fight, Andrade said that she's most likely going back down to strawweight because she thinks there's an easier opportunity for her, or a more realistic opportunity for her to get a chance back at a title shot at 115 than there is at 125, because there's no way you can beat any one of those girls and get a chance at Valentina if Valentina has already beat you, because the top is literally just actually littered with girls that Valentina has already destroyed. Now they're just recycling themselves back through at this point, and even Valentina's bored of that idea. So we're gonna have to see something shake up here pretty goddamn soon. I, for one, agree completely that it's time for fucking Amanda Valentina 3. It's time. It's time. It's fucking time. That being said, Curtis Blades versus Jairzinho Rosenstrike. I'm not going to say it was the worst fight in the world, but it sucked. It flat out sucked out loud. Neither one of those dudes are really on championship level right now, and that's kind of sad, because for a while there it looked like Curtis Blades might be the dude. Then it looked like Jairzinho might be the dude, and frankly, both of them since have been exposed. I think both of them had great runs at the time, but I think neither one of them are really on that level. And the fact that we went to a fucking 15-minute judge's decision to see the fucking strongest dudes on the card end their fight was kind of telling under that matchup. That kind of sucked. Yeah, my notes literally say this was one step away from being Francis versus fucking Derrick Lewis 2. Or the first one, rather, the second iteration, second coming of that fight, whatever you want to call it. That sucked, point blank. That, however, will bring us into the fight that was quite literally 17 years in the making. Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler 2. To be fair, Nick said it twice in interviews leading up to the fight, and he even said it in the Octagon interview after the fight. I don't know how or why this fight got made. This is stupid. There was no fucking reason for it. Robbie Lawler did not look like the best version of himself that we have seen by any stretch of the imagination, but he didn't look terrible. The problem is he was in there with a Nick Diaz who you could very much tell has been out of the octagon for multiple years. Like, this was a case of the body remembering the motions, but not having the familiarity to do them fluidly. Nick looked like an old man in there. And the biggest disappointment for me was the way that it ended. For all the hype, and I talked about this with a little quick after hours show RJ and I did Saturday, for all the hype, for all the buildup, for all the badassery that Nick Diaz's name carries, the general of the Nick Diaz army, Stockton's own, Mr. 209, blah, 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 whatever the fuck you want to call him, he bitched out on Saturday night. Point blank, period. Nick Diaz bitched out. Robbie Lawler caught him with a couple of clean shots in that third round, and he literally laid down on the ground and said, nah, I'm good. I'm not going to get back up. We're done. Don't be scared, homie. It's only a fight. This was sad, in my opinion. It was sad. Nick should not have been in there. Nick's done. Nick's fucking washed. The only way Nick should come back is if he takes 2 or 3 smoker fights. Get him out there against a nobody, get him back in the ring, get him moving, get him literally fighting again, because he can't just step away for 6 fucking years and come back to the octagon like he had just left. This showed exactly that. Nick Diaz has always been fun to watch, but that wasn't fun. That sucked. That was hard to fucking see. That being said, that'll bring us to the co-main event. Like I mentioned earlier, nobody can stop the bullet, not at 125 anyway. The only chance I see anyone stopping Valentina Shevchenko is if she were to go back to 135 and then fight Amanda Nunes. That's the only real opposition I think she's going to face anytime soon. Props to Lauren Murphy for being tough, but you could tell the moment that fight started, she knew she was in over her fucking head. She was gun shy right out of the fucking gate. She did not want to initiate, and she was trying but could not counter anytime Valentina came in against her. It was a matter of you being able to see Valentina giving Lauren an opportunity to get her gameplay going, to get her game plan enacted, but she just couldn't do it. Valentina's just too fucking good. Anytime Lauren tried to do anything, Valentina was there quicker and better. There's nobody better than the bullet at 25. I'm 100% fucking convinced. Until you show me somebody with a fucking resume that can prove otherwise, the only fight left to make is Amanda Nunes 3 at 135, in my opinion. The other thing about that fight is if you needed more reasons to love Valentina Shevchenko, she did her post-fight interview in the octagon in 3 fucking languages, fluidly, effortlessly, and announced that now she's also learning to speak Thai so that she can do them in 4 languages going forward. Because Valentina fucking Shevchenko. That's why. That, however, will bring us to the main event last Saturday. The featherweight belt on the line. Alexander the Great Volkanovski versus Brian T. City Ortega. I will say I did not think that fight was going 5 rounds. I did not think we were going to see a judge's decision in that fight. And I said it during the fight as well. It was almost eerily similar to the Max Holloway Brian Ortega fight. The numbers, the styles, the way it played out, it was so fucking similar to the Holloway Ortega fight. It was almost scary. Volkanovski just flat out outworked Ortega the whole fucking way through, with the exception of a few times when they were on the ground and Ortega did what Ortega does. There was one point in the second round that Ortega had gotten some grappling, gotten loose, and grabbed Volkanovski by the fucking neck and sank a fucking Darson that was strong enough and tight enough to have Volkanovski kicking and bucking like a fucking mule. And you could see in his eyes, there was a problem. That was fucking tight. It was a troublesome situation. And when asked about it after the fact, he said, and I quote, "It was, oh shit, I'm about to lose my belt deep." That's how deep that choke was. He was genuinely worried that he was going to get choked the fuck out because he wasn't going to tap. He was going to fight it till he went out. But he said he was genuinely concerned that he was about to go to sleep and wake up without his fucking belt. That's how deep that guillotine was. But he managed to get out of it. He kept a cooler head. He did more work. He got more in. And he just beat the shit out of Brian Ortega top to bottom. I will say there's going to be some controversy going forward because at one point, I don't remember if it was after round 3 or 4. I think it was after round 4. Ortega was just beat to shit. And literally his coaches came over and helped him off the canvas and helped him onto the stool, which is against the rules. The fighter has to get up on their own and get to the stool on their own. So there was that. Then at one point, Herb Dean brought the doctor in to check on Ortega because he was all fucked up, wobbly a little bit. He wasn't looking at Herb Dean. He wasn't looking at the doctor. He wasn't talking to them. He was looking around. He was giving them the wrong answers. At one point, Herb Dean asked him, "How many fingers am I holding up with?" 3. And he said 2. The doctor said, "How many fingers am I holding up with?" 2. And he said 1. And Herb Dean turned around and said, "Okay, you're good to go." And sent him back out in there. I get it that he looked like he might have been okay, but when you literally give consistent wrong answers to a doctor's fucking health check, come on, man. Come on. I get it. We all want to see a great fucking fight, but at that point, either he's telling you he doesn't want to be in there anymore, or he's really so fucked up he shouldn't be in there anymore. Either way, Herb Dean and that doctor got some splaining to do, in my opinion. But props to Volkanovski for putting another fucking gem in the belt that he's been holding for Max now. Bonuses, ironically enough, for a pay-per-view were the way that we generally expect them to be for the fight nights, and they haven't been. One fight of the night, Volkanovski versus Ortega, which I don't agree with. It was a good fight, but it was not fight of the night. And then 2 performances of the night. Chris Dawkins, which I absolutely agree with. That was a great fucking shot. And then Merab Dvalishvili, which you absolutely better give that motherfucker a performance of the night if you're not going to give that fight of the night, which I think it should have been. So, that being said, let's see here. I don't remember if there was anything. I don't think there was anything super ridiculous on the medical suspension list. see. No, it was another one of those. Basically, everybody that didn't get hurt too bad is either suspended until October 26th or November 10th. Everybody that was hurt either has to have doctor's clearance or they're suspended until March 25th. Nothing out of the ordinary. Everybody that got hurt is on the long list. It's nothing spectacular. So, that being said, that'll bring us into the news and recent events segment of the show here. We actually do have a fair little bit, not too terribly much, but a fair little bit of news. We got a good chunk of fight announcements in the last 48, 72 hours or so. But the first thing I want to talk about, after all the bullshit leading up to Dan Hooker having problems with his visa, and literally having to get fans and people to start tweeting at his politicians to get him to approve his visa. Israel Adesanya has said that he's never fighting in New Zealand again. That it is very apparent that all the soccer players, all the rugby players, all basketball players, basically every athlete in New Zealand were allowed sports exemptions, with the exception of MMA fighters. And with the bullshit that they've had to go through, with all the excessive lockdowns that they've gone through over there, and it's a bit much. You can look at how they've gone about it. Just look at Dan Hooker's story for the last year. You should be able to tell. But then on top of that, the politicians just being openly unsupportive, and then when it's time to get credit in the news, being their buddy. Israel Adesanya and Dan Hooker have both basically now confirmed that they're done. They're leaving New Zealand, that they are in the process of trying to find a place in the United States to move City Kickboxing and all of its fighters to. Basically, they are leaving New Zealand. New Zealand has made it very clear that they are not willing to support these gentlemen. So these gentlemen are no longer willing to support New Zealand. And frankly, I cannot say that I blame them one fucking bit. The disrespect that has been shown to these men publicly is unfucking tolerable, and I completely understand their decisions to get the fuck out of there and bring it to the US and give themselves the best opportunity they can for their careers going forward. It's shitty that it took something like this for something like that to happen, but at the same time, hopefully this will be a fucking wake-up call for all parties involved that need it. I think based on the statements that Izzy has made and the statements that have been made since then, that Dan wasn't necessarily supposed to say anything about them planning this. They were kind of trying to keep it a secret, but not necessarily ready to announce it yet. And Dan kind of slipped it out. But either way, I get it. I get it. And it sucks that it takes this, but at the same time, if this gets us Izzy in the US more accessible, more frequently able to compete, okay. We got an announcement I feel was a little overdue, but I think we all kind of saw it coming. After a 15-minute long, emotional video released on all of his social media platforms, it was confirmed this week that Manny Pacquiao has officially said goodbye to boxing. He has officially retired from combat sports. He's going to focus solely on his political career. He has announced officially he is running for president of the Philippines in 2022. He has been a senator in the Philippines for, I believe, the last 6 or 7 years now. So it kind of seemed like he was leaning more towards politics and less towards fighting in the last decade or so, literally. So it's not really much of a surprise, but at the same time, good on you. He's clearly made more than enough money to not have to do this anymore. And he's genuinely seems to be interested in the politics going on in the Philippines. So if you're not all in the fight game, don't be in the fight game. It's not a young man's game, and it's not something for anybody to do half-assed. If you're going to be in it to win it, you got to be all in it, period. Sucks that he is out, but at the same time, good on you for having the foresight to get the fuck out while you can still maintain complete sentences and have the presence of mind to potentially help change the landscape of the politics in the Philippines going forward.
Also, can we give a good shout out to the Philippines there for soon to be new president Manny Pacquiao? Because I'm pretty sure Duarte is going to get fucking the boot with Pacquiao on the ballot.
I agree. I really don't think anything Duarte can fucking do or say that's going to give him a hope and a fucking prayer to stop Manny from fucking taking over.
No, that dude's a superstar there already. So
yeah, and now that he's going officially, like, sorry, Duarte.
Yep. And to be quite honest, the whole rest of the world will enjoy that as well.
I agree with that as well. I agree. I think that's kind of going to be beneficial for everyone, just kind of blossoming out from there. We got a story released yesterday. There was some chatter, but we basically got it confirmed yesterday that the UFC was so dead set against Deiveson Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno running it back that they genuinely and officially offered the fight with Brandon Moreno to Alexander Pantoja before they offered it to Figgy. And the only reason he didn't take it is because he had literally just scheduled an emergency knee surgery that was going to keep him sidelined for at least the next 8 months. So he wasn't physically able to, and it wasn't something that he could postpone the surgery for. He needs that surgery to be able to continue fighting now, not later. So he went ahead and stuck with it, and he's going through the surgery. But it's kind of shitty to have found out that we are getting the rematch of Deiveson Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno, but we're literally only getting it because Alexandre Pantoja's knee was fucked up and he has to go get surgery first. I would think, given the way that we got to where we are right now in that division, that Figgy Smalls of all fucking people would be entitled to the fucking rematch, especially considering the way that he handled the loss. I would think he would be entitled to his rematch, but at least we're getting it. I will say that. At least we're getting that rematch. So we also found out Tuesday that Travis Brown and Ronda Rousey have officially given birth to a baby girl. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce her name. They have given her a very unique Polynesian name that is a long name, and I'm not that good at pronunciation. So
want me to teach you how to pronounce the Polynesian name?
Sure.
You say every one of the vowels. So you sound every vowel out and you read it out that way. That's how. Now, am I going to try to say that name? No, because I know I'll probably fuck it up, but I understand enough from living in Hawaii how to pronounce those names that I could probably stumble through it. But as long as the middle name is on there, yeah.
Yeah, that's I was going to say. It's not a short name. There are 20 some odd characters in the middle name alone. Like, it's a genuinely large name, and good for her, good for them. But woo, that's going to be fun and rolling soon. Yeah, that's going to be fun and rolling that one in school.
Any legal documentation, have fun with that.
Yeah, in fucking Texas or wherever the fuck they're at right now.
Yeah.
Oh man. So we also, speaking of that interesting kind of fucking news, we also got word day before yesterday that David Feldman, the owner and president of BKFC, has confirmed that they are trying to book Paige Van Zandt on the upcoming Knucklemania 2 card that will take place in February 2022. But Paige has expressed interest in potentially leaving the BKFC world in her rear view and going back to MMA to sign with Bellator so that she and her husband can compete in the same organization. And to his credit, David Feldman said that if this is the opportunity that she feels she needs to pursue and that Bellator is willing to give her that contract, they will absolutely release her from the BKFC contract they have her in. Now, whether that means they're going to force her to recoup those multi-million dollars that they signed her on for the multi-fight contract, which she still has 2 of that she's apparently now considering not doing. We don't know, but I will say it seems a bit ironic that Paige was the first of the literal OnlyFans girls wave that BKFC signed, I believe, 9 of in a row. And I believe every single one of them has now lost at least 1 fight. In Paige's case, 2 fights in a row. So, I mean, look, on one hand, good for Paige. Do you do whatever makes you fucking happy? Do whatever they're willing to let you do. But at the same time, between this and then watching her and the other fucking numbskulls from ATT going over to fucking AEW wrestling and pretending last week, credibility is stretching a little thin at this point. Not that there was a whole lot to begin with, but man, the shit's getting deep and I didn't bring boots. I'll leave it at that. We did get an interesting piece of news that I honestly did not anticipate getting to see. The atom weight Grand Prix that took place a little while back now over in ONE FC, and then had a very controversial fight take place, and ONE FC actually determined themselves that they were going to reevaluate that fight for a potential overturning, came back with their decision on that fight upon full review from all parties involved. They have, for the first time in ONE FC's history, decided to stand on the results of the match. The winner is the winner. Tough titty, said the kitty. The milk might still be good, but you ain't going forward in the fucking Grand Prix. Got your ass whipped. Take your shit. Go home. I genuinely kind of anticipated that to get overturned. ONE has done this a couple times, and genuinely, and for the right reasons. When there have been controversial fights like this, they have given the fighters the opportunity to appeal and then overturn these bad decisions. This one was kind of less controversial than the previous, I think we should say. And to the surprise of most of us, I think, they decided they're instead going to stand on that decision and keep it as it is. The win is a win, the loss is a loss. The winner moves forward and the loser gets out of the fucking line. Sorry, sweetheart, you don't get a chance no more. Good on them. That being said, that started us on a slew of interesting fight cancellation and rebookings, if you will, that we got this week. The first of which being for the October 23rd card. Diego Ferreira is officially out of his fight with Ricky Glenn, and stepping in on short notice with 3 weeks to go is Grant Dawson, like a BAMF. So Ferreira versus Glenn would have been an interesting matchup. I think Grant Dawson versus Glenn is going to be an equally good matchup as well. Plus, props for being a badass on short notice. So good for you. The next one we got after that was for, ironically enough, the following week, UFC 267 on October 30th. Tristan Connolly had emergency neck surgery this week. Pulled through, looks to be in good spirits and on the mend, but holy shit, serious spinal surgery, last minute emergency, out obviously of his fight for the end of next month, but stepping in on short notice to take on Makwan Amir Khani will be Lerone Murphy. So that's going to be an interesting fight as well. Still keeping the grappling heavy going in against Mr. Finland. Speaking of that 267 disappointment that's already building, though, we also, Saturday morning, ironically enough, Saturday morning got the sad confirmation that Aljamain Sterling is still suffering from the recuperation of his spinal surgery that took place after he got gifted the belt via DQ against Petr Yan, and will now have to officially pull out of his fight at UFC 267 against Petr Yan. Now, this is a two-part story because one, this did not prevent Aljamain Sterling from coming Saturday night to Las Vegas to sparring in the back with Merab Dvalishvili and then literally dancing and bouncing to the octagon as Merab's corner man. But part two was that by Saturday evening, confirmed Sunday morning already, with Aljamain quote unquote sidelined again, they have already made, or I shouldn't say made, they have rearranged the event to keep Petr Yan on the 267 card. He will now be fighting Corey Sandhagen for the interim bantamweight belt instead, winner to unify the belt against Sterling sometime early next year. So on one hand, it's going to be interesting to see Yan versus Sandhagen. I think that's going to be a very cool fight to see. On the other hand, to quote Marilyn Manson, I wasn't born with enough middle fingers. Fuck actor Main Sterling. Fuck actor Main Sterling. Fuck actor Main Sterling. That motherfucker makes it so hard to give him any respect whatsoever. Fuck him. Fuck him.
I mean, and then the stupidity of Sterling with his Instagram and Twitter posts of him sparring in the gym, doing some very, very good head movements and things of that nature. If you have nerve damage, if you have a spinal injury, if you just got out of surgery, you're not doing this. And for those that are listening, I am popping my head back and fucking forth because you cannot do that. Nerve damage or fucking not. You can't do that. Your body will not fucking let you move your head that quick, that fucking frequently. You might be able to do it once, but then you're hitting the fucking ground like a ton of fucking bricks.
Right, yeah, you're not Floyd Mayweather in your fucking neck if you're that hurt. Just not happening.
Like, he's just delaying the inevitable. He even said it. Petr Yan was whipping my ass.
I was going to say
verbatim.
The smartest thing that he has said in the last 6 months was when he was on Ariel's show this week, and he said flat out, Petr Yan was whipping my ass, and he was the one that was dumb enough to throw that knee. That is 100% correct. That is the most accurate thing that has come out of his mouth since that knee was thrown, period.
Look, I strictly take the only context to that matters. It said Petr Yan was whipping my ass. All he's doing is delaying the inevitable again, which is why he got kneed in the first place, because he decided to sit there like a bitch instead of standing up, and Petr Yan wasn't having that kind of shit. He's like, no, fuck you, we're in a fight. You're going to pay the price.
You're exactly
And guess
right.
what? Now he's going to be really pissed. So when he gets his hands on you, you might end up in a fucking hospital bed longer than fucking most normal people.
Yep. Yeah, and I think the best part about this for Petr, not only does he get to still stay on the card and still look like a badass, but this, like RJ and I were talking about, this makes him Mystic Petr. He literally predicted when the night they gave him the fucking belt, he said, this guy's going to do anything he can to get out of my rematch. He's going to fake an injury at the last minute and pull out. He'll do anything he can to have to avoid, he'll do anything he can to avoid having to face me again, because he knows what's going to happen. And sure the fuck enough, here we are talking about it right now, because he did exactly that.
So,
what a fucking douchebag.
With him being Mystic Petr at this point, I want to know, do you think he's going to make a statement after beating Corey Sandhagen's ass? And I like Corey Sandhagen. I want to make this very clear, but I don't think he stands a fucking Ice Cube's chance in hell in beating Petr. I just don't think that's possible. I have a feeling when it comes time for that octagon interview at the end, he's going to call and say it like it is and say Aljo is going to end up injured again before they have the unification.
Right.
Because to be quite honest, let's take this back a little bit to a wonderful movie, and I'm only going to quote it. I'm not going to give you the name. So he's running scared like a little rabbit. Not going to find him. That's what's happening. Now, if you know which movie that's from, you'll enjoy that. If not, Aljo's still running scared like a little rabbit.
I agree. The good news is that he can delay it all he wants, but realistically, either way this plays out, Aljo's in a bad fucking way here, because I am 100% fucking convinced that Corey Sandhagen made a bad decision in the moment in his fight against Aljo, and he knew it immediately, but it was too late. He made the mistake and Aljo capitalized. I'll give him that credit. He absolutely capitalized on a mistake. It wasn't anything that Aljamain was doing. It was that Corey made a mistake and let him capitalize on it. And I think if Corey gets the chance to run that back, you better believe he's going to put the fucking beating to Aljamain Sterling. And if that's not the case, if Piotr just has to go through Corey to get back at Aljo again, you better believe he's going to be twice as pissed off, and he's going to put a fucking legit hurting on that motherfucker. So either way this goes, all he's doing is delaying the inevitable. One way or another, I think Aljamain's going to get his ass beat like he has never had it beat before whenever he finally stops running. That being said,
the only good thing that this is doing for Aljo is it's increasing his gas tank because he's doing a lot of fucking running and he's helping that cardio.
He's got to be jogging, baby. That's right. But to round out the last of our injury news segment, I guess this would be, we got confirmation that 2 weeks ago, RDA underwent laparoscopic surgery on his knee to have it cleaned out and checked to make sure everything's okay, but that he hadn't been healing as quickly as they thought they were going to. So now we literally are at the breaking point. They are being forced to make a decision by tomorrow whether they will be able to keep RDA in his fight for UFC 267 against Islam Makhachev, or if they're going to have to try and find a last-minute replacement for him as well. Obviously, the entire MMA world is keeping an eye on this because the vast majority of us would love nothing better than to see RDA just go out there and beat the fucking brakes off of Islam and put that hype train to rest. But now knowing that he literally just had knee surgery and is not healing as quick as they hoped he was going to, so there's already questions going in 3 weeks out from the fight, 4 weeks out from the fight. Now we get to that point where it's like we have to genuinely consider, is RDA going to be able to get back to the point where he can be RDA against Islam, because he will need to be, as much as we all want to see him do that. He will need to do that because RDA, or Islam rather, wants to make an example of him and just keep going up the fucking ladder. So you're gonna have to be ready for that motherfucker when he goes. And if he can't be, we've got to get him out of that fight. We can't send a half-ass RDA in there because that will absolutely just fuel the already fucking out of check ego of Islam Makhachev. So hopefully RDA is good. Everything proceed forward as planned, and we can all expect a great fight. We'll know more this coming weekend, so I have a feeling we'll have an update for you guys on that next week's I'm No Joe.
I mean, that fucking Makhachev fight, whether it's RDA or if it's going to be Dan, like they are talking about making announcements that Dan's going to make that's going to be a very humbling experience for when Islam Makhachev.
Honestly, I wouldn't be mad at either one, but I would, just because of the buildup that we've already got on this, I would really like to see a good, healthy RDA come in there and just beat the fucking brakes off him. Just do what RDA does and fuck him up and get him out of our fucking collective vision for a while. But I wouldn't be mad if they played that alternative route out either. That detour would be fun for me to see as well, I'd say. That being said, we have got about a dozen very, very interesting fight announcements that have all basically come down the pipe in the last 72 hours. The first one is for the main event of the November 13th card back in the Apex. It is officially confirmed. There were rumors. Now it is official. The November 13th card will be headlined by Max Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez. It's going the fuck down. I almost feel bad for Yair at this point, but at the same time, the UFC is trying to make Max jump through every possible fucking hoop they can to get back to the belt that I still believe should rightfully be his. And at this point, Max has said it a million times. He'll say it a million more. It is what it is. He don't care. Tell him what he's got to do. He's going to come do it. He's going back for that title, baby. Max is still a young man. He's still in his goddamn prime. And we saw with the Calvin Kattar fight, he's only getting better. He broke new fucking records in the Calvin Kattar fight. If he's got to go through Yair, he's going to go through Yair. There's nothing that he has that I think can give Max any fucking problems, really. So I understand that it sucks for Max having to keep fucking playing the goddamn game, but at the same time, the more he plays this fucking game, Cowboy learned it a long time ago. If you play the game and you win every time they fucking ask you to play, you just end up looking like more of a badass at the end of the day. And I have a feeling this is going to be one of those situations where they're trying to hold Max back, but realistically, he's going to show up and he's going to show out. He's going to come out looking like a fucking stud and smelling like a rose.
I'm not happy with the UFC on this one. I think Max is getting fucked all the way around. After that fucking fight with Calvin Kattar, that was a very large indicator of there is nowhere else in that division that's going to give him any problems. He needs to go back after that belt. I think the UFC really screwed the pooch on this one. And I get it. They need some sort of filler fight to make something interesting in the featherweight division for the time being. But to be quite honest, how about the Korean Zombie and Yair Rodriguez?
I was going to say, they may let him run the fucking Yair Zombie rematch back.
Let
the Zombie get his chance for redemption, for fuck's sake.
And the Korean Zombie has fucking earned that chance at redemption at this point. Like, to be quite honest, I still think he should still be ranked above Yair, in my own opinion. Yair got lucky with one of the luckiest fucking blows you'll ever see in MMA in that fight. And there's no way he should have won that fight because he was getting his ass whipped from start to finish. But,
Completely.
God forbid the UFC do the right thing and let the correct deserved guy immediately go to that title shot. And I get it. He's going to have to wait X number of months for fucking champ to heal up from this last fight because he may have won pretty decisively, but he also took quite a few fucking licks too. So
he took his fucking lumps in the process. That's for damn sure.
Just saying,
I have a feeling this is going to be. Hopefully, Max makes fucking short work of Yair realistically, and then they can make the fucking Yair Zombie rematch that we all want to fucking see, and let us fucking have. As much as Dana doesn't want to do it, it's time for the fucking trilogies. We need Max versus fucking Volk 3. We need Amanda versus Valentina 3. Might as well make fucking Nate versus Connor 3. Let them fucking line all the goddamn trilogies up. 'Tis the fucking season, apparently. Start 2022 with all the goddamn trilogies on the board. We already got Moreno versus fucking Figueiredo 3 on the board too. Let's just make 2022 the year of the fucking trilogy.
And to be quite honest, every one of those trilogies makes complete fucking sense right now. I mean, yeah, Connor coming off a fucking bad injury and loss. Fucking Nate's been off a couple losses here. Let him fucking go. Let him go to town. And look, even the Valentina fucking fight was even brought up on Ariel's show, where she thinks Amanda right now is still afraid of her, which makes complete sense. Because to be quite honest, she was gifted a fucking win over a person from a lighter division.
Yep.
I'm just saying that fight makes sense. Do it at 135. Where fucking that's Amanda's fucking her weight class, 135.
Right.
Let Valentina come up 10 pounds. Yeah.
as weird as it is, I have to say the best idea I have heard all weekend actually came from Chael P. Sonnen himself. Not surprising that it came from Chael, just surprised that it was the idea, that it took this long for this idea to get floated out there. Dana's so against letting Valentina fight for that 135-pound belt against Amanda again. Cool. They are arguably the two best females in that weight range in the world in the UFC right now. So make it equal footing for both ladies. Amanda runs 135. Valentina runs 125. Have them fight at 130. No title on the line. Ladies BMF.
Fuck yeah. That fight needs to happen.
Win, lose, or draw. Nobody's fucking title is on the line. But you can win the legitimate ladies BMF, because who's better than those two in the UFC? Fucking nobody. Nobody.
And, you know, I guess if that's the case, you may as well, if we're going to go with all of the three-peats, you may as well let Joanna get another shot at fucking Rose.
Right. And the funny thing is I have a feeling that after this Whaley Rose run back, that's going to be the fucking fight that they're going to try and make. It's going to try and be fucking Joanna versus Rose again, which, you know, season of the fucking trilogies. There we go. Another one falls right into fucking place, because look, I like Weili Zhang. I really fucking do. And I think she's got a bright future in MMA. But when you stack her against fucking Rose Namajunas, I think 10 out of 10 fucking times Rose has her goddamn number. Same thing with Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Joanna Jędrzejczyk was a fucking badass for a long fucking time. But when you stack her up against fucking Rose Namajunas, I think Rose Namajunas wins that fight 10 out of 10 fucking times. So if we've got to go through that fucking Weili Zhang rematch to get to Joanna 3 to fucking set the record straight, I think Rose is more than capable of doing it. Another trilogy for 2022 on the books. But that being said, moving along to the November 20th card. The main event for the November 20th card has officially been confirmed. The rebooking of Caitlin Vieira versus Miesha Tate will now headline the November 20th card. Interesting fight. I get why they're making it. I'm not 100% certain why it has to be a main event. It would have the same result if they put them in for 3 rounds and Miesha did what I think Miesha's going to do and what they're thinking Miesha's going to do, but, you know, make it a main event. Okay, cool. But 2 weeks after that, we got a pair of announcements for that December 4th card that I think is going to make a lot of people pay attention to that fight night. The first one that we got, Manel Copp versus Zagas Zuma Gulov, one of the craziest fucking up-and-comers the UFC has got to offer, and one of the strangest bring-ins the UFC has made in a long time. And then they confirmed the main event for the December 4th card. Rob Font versus Jose Aldo. That's a fucking fight. That's going to be a fun goddamn fight. I'm for it. I'm cool with looking at fucking Manel versus Zuma Gulov. Both have very unorthodox styles. It's going to be a weird fucking matchup. I think that's going to be fun to watch, but Rob Font versus fucking Jose Aldo is going to be a fucking banger, man. I'm telling you right now, that's going to be a great fucking main event. So we got not a main event, but a very interesting announcement for the following week the following week out after the December 4th card for the UFC 269. Nice. That will be taking place on December 11th. Officially added as of this afternoon. Pedro Munoz versus Dominic Cruz. That's a fucking banger and a half. I was almost as excited about that fight as I was about Rob Font and Jose Aldo, honestly. Those are both going to be great fucking matchups. They really are. Next one we got after that will be for the following week after that, the December 18th card. We've got the announcement of Raquel Pennington. Shut up, dog. Raquel Pennington versus Julia Avila. The Angry Panda gets back in against Rocky. It kind of feels like this is their way to let Raquel kind of slide out the door and build a name off, let Julia build her name off of her at this point.
Yeah, that ought to be another one of here's your walking papers, have fun kind of thing. So that'll be to be quite honest, not too concerned with that fight on that card, to be quite honest.
I agree. Basically, the reason I announced this is because I think you're 100% right. I think this is the walking papers fight because we've seen Julia Avila looking fucking great every time she's come out lately. And we've seen Raquel Pennington just slowly decline fight after fucking fight here. And realistically, I think she's on her way out. I really do. And I think you're on the right track here. I think they're hoping that Julia makes light work of her and they can just send her on down the fucking pipeline afterwards, which it's understandable. Sorry, Raquel. She did a lot, but at this point, the competition's just passing you by too fucking easily. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out, but I think we're on the fucking money there. I think that's how that's lined up. We did get a very interesting couple of announcements here for the UFC 270 card that will be taking place January 22nd of next year. The first one will be Rodolfo Vieira taking on Wellington Turman. We just saw Wellington Turman put on a hell of a performance, and Rodolfo Vieira is one of the most highly accredited Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners in the fucking world. Now in the UFC, making a transition over into the world of MMA. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. But the real interesting one for me was the follow-up announcement that came after that. It makes sense, but it's a hell of a strange matchup nonetheless. Jared Cannoneer versus Derrick Brunson. As of now, it's looking like they're going to have this co-main event prospectively until they start adding title fights, which I'm sure they're never going to find one to put on there. But either way, I think Cannoneer versus Brunson is going to be an interesting fight here because I definitely don't think Brunson has what it takes to clear out the top of that division or to make his way all the way to the top of the division, so to speak. But I also don't think Cannoneer has what it takes to take out those top guys as well. I kind of feel like they're basically battling it out for top 5 gatekeeper at this point in that division, which, to be fair, isn't a bad place to be. But at the same point, I don't know that either one of them really has what it takes at this point to get beyond there.
I think the missed one from December 18th card that was just added to.
Oh no, that's literally the next one I'm getting ready to talk about.
Okay. Gotcha. All right.
No,
just making sure because you kind of skipped ahead. I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, no. It's because we had to pair for 270.
Okay.
But no,
Gotcha.
there was one more for the December 18th card that just got announced confirmed, I should say, this afternoon. After the great fucking performance last weekend that we just talked about a little while ago, the December 18th card has now had added to it the Black Beast Derrick Lewis versus Chris Daukaus. This very well could be that same style of fight that we just talked about for Raquel Pennington for Derrick Lewis. Everybody loves Derrick Lewis, but at this point, he's getting to be one of those names that costs a lot of money every time they bring him out, whether it's 3 rounds or 5 rounds, and he's not performing the best, to say the very least. With Daukaus on the fucking rise as hard legitimately as he has been, if he comes in here and fucks up Derrick Lewis, I think this both skyrockets Daukaus to the top of the fucking division and gives them a reason to send Derrick Lewis over to fucking Bellator at the same time.
I don't know. That's going to be a hard sell to get him to Bellator, to be quite honest. He's still got too much pull behind his name. I think they'll let him ride out. But then again, he is about that money. He doesn't care. He's like, look, just in case nobody watches this, he was on the episode Hot Ones today. There's a reason why he doesn't box. One, he has to train too hard, to make the money. He's like, I don't have to train for the UFC. This is a fucking street fight, basically. Just can't pull hair and punch in the nuts. But now, because of the way he speaks when he gets the microphone in front of him and the way he knocks people out, it's going to be a hard sell for the UFC to cut him. I think, if anything, they would let him ride that middle of the pack thing. They just might not pay him as much if he takes the loss.
Right.
But
Yeah,
after his knockout of Blades, that kind of gives him enough fucking credit to stay around for a while.
Yeah, they might. You're right. They might need renegotiate, chop his contract in half or something, let him stay around for a little bit. But it's definitely not looking good. He's definitely not still at the echelon that he was for a long while there. He's starting to make his descent down the mountain, I think. We got kind of a weird excerpt from Rogan over the weekend. Ironically, not being there to fucking commentate, but still watching the fights, he was talking about it and said that he doesn't think that Nick Diaz looked bad at all, that he just needed another week or two in camp, and he would have been the Nick Diaz that we were all used to seeing. I don't think anybody who watched that fight thinks that another week would have made the difference between the Nick Diaz we saw and the Nick Diaz that was there in 2015. Those aren't the same people anymore. The Nick Diaz that everyone remembers is still in 2015. He didn't make it to 2021. That dude isn't here anymore. That Nick Diaz doesn't exist in the current day. Nick Diaz that we saw Saturday night looking slow, looking sloppy, getting fucking hurt, taking the knee like a bitch. That's Nick Diaz now. And another week would not have made that difference. There's no way that he could have reversed 6 years worth of sidelines in an extra week worth of training. Least of all, when the week before the fight, he asked to have the entire fucking weight class changed because there's no way he could even make the contracted 170 that he signed up for. Wolf tickets from the fucking start. I said it before, I'll say it again. Wolf tickets from the fucking jump. So, the last thing that we have to fucking talk about before we can go forward here. We mentioned it a little bit on our after hours show that RJ and I did Saturday, but I also told you guys that I would give an update this week if we got more details between then and now, and we've gotten more details between then and now. John Jones, Friday night, was in Las Vegas for the Hall of Fame induction ceremony for his fight against Alexander Gustafsson. Arguably one of the best fucking light heavyweight fights in history, understandably getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. About half an hour after the ceremony was over, he went back to the hotel with his wife and 3 children and decided that he was going to take 10 grand cash and go to the strip club with his friends, which he apparently did. John Jones comes back to the hotel about 4 o'clock in the morning, very visibly intoxicated and upset, gets in an argument with his fiance, an altercation occurs, and John leaves. We then get the report from the security officer at the front desk that John's fiance and his oldest child come down to the lobby to ask for the room keys to be changed. His fiance has blood on her lip and blood all down her sweater and is visibly shaken. When the security guard asked her if she was okay, she broke down into tears and told them what was going on. And John Jones' child had to ask the security officer to call the fucking police because they were terrified. John Jones had left the hotel at that point, was picked up by a group of Las Vegas police officers who he resisted arrest from, told them, "Don't you know who the fuck I am?" And when they arrested him and told him that they knew exactly who he was, he flipped out and slammed his head down into the middle of a fucking Las Vegas police car, and I quote, leaving a medium-sized dent that repelled the paint from the center. He headbutted the car so hard. So John was actually arrested, we now know, for domestic battery and tampering or injuring a motor vehicle. The domestic battery, strangely enough, is a misdemeanor charge. The tampering or injuring a motor vehicle is a felony. Not that it makes it better, but we've since found out that John Jones's fiance refused treatment at the scene, refused to sign a statement, and refused to press charges on John. But then immediately asked how long they would have to hold him in Las Vegas, how long they would have with him locked up to be able to get their things and to leave. As someone who grew up in a fucked up household and had to call the police at the age of 11 on their piece of shit abusive father who had struck their fucking mother, I know exactly how fucking horrible that poor fucking child has to feel. And I hope more than anything in the fucking world that this, for whatever reason the universe deems fit, is the fuck up that lands John Jones in jail. Not for a weekend, not for a fucking couple of weeks, not for community service. Stick that piece of shit scumbag motherfucker in a jail cell for some months and let him think about what the fuck he has done to other people's lives, because there's no redemption from this point. His children witnessed the altercation. There was blood on her shirt. There was blood on her face. There was blood across the blanket and the wall in the fucking hotel room. This wasn't a light incident. Fuck that scumbag piece of shit. I hope he gets locked in jail.
Yeah, I'm a little pissed, and this is going to sound fucked up. I'm a little pissed that he's not going to end up in jail. For two reasons. One, because he's got enough money to pay for a really good fucking lawyer that'll keep him out of jail. Two, that his fiance did not press charges. Refused to sign a statement. I get it. Okay, this is the part where I feel kind of like an asshole, but I don't at the same time. I understand the whole victim's remorse thing. I get all of that. But at the same time, knowing she's seen what he's done in the past to other people, not just herself, causing great bodily harm to people, damn near killing a fucking pregnant woman. I mean, at this point, you would think, yeah, enough is enough. It's time for me to force this motherfucker away. Like, go get a fucking, at a minimum, I hope she goes back home, files a restraining order, make sure he's nowhere near her. So that way, if he does come near her, he immediately goes to fucking jail. No questions asked. The dude needs way more fucking help than is humanly necessary right now. And as much as I hate to say this, DC was right. They had the opportunity to help him, and nobody stepped up to the plate. The UFC did not step up to the plate. They fucking screwed the pooch on this one. To be quite honest, you had what I will say is now a former superstar that you could have really helped. You could have got in there, got the right people, got the right mental help, get him in the right path. But no, we'll let him deal with his shit on his own because he's just a contract. Look,
Right.
You guys fucked up. Look, I get it. Dana White's excuse for these types of situations is always, I have a whole bunch of fighters. They're all fucking crazy. No, they're fucking not. Not all of the fighters are crazy. Don't get me wrong. There are some that are absolutely batshit nuts. But for the most part, they're not. Sometimes they just have fucking demons and they need some fucking help. So somebody needs to step in. To be quite honest, I hope he never fights in the UFC again. I hope he gets the help he needs because he obviously fucking needs it.
Right.
And I hope he goes nowhere near that fucking woman ever again. And to be quite honest, I hope he gets at least a year in prison for the damages just to the vehicle, which that'll end up as a fucking misdemeanor. He's going to end up on community service for paying the police department to have the fucking hood fixed. I mean,
Right.
It's sad, but that's exactly what's going to happen. And if anybody thinks otherwise, they're a fucking idiot. The only way that man is going to end up in prison is if he fucking kills somebody.
He's gonna legitimately have to actually fucking kill someone. And
Yeah,
that's a
but
horrible
they'll
thing to
keep
have to
letting him
fucking
off
say.
because, oh, it's his name and he's got a really good fucking lawyer that can work out a good plea deal.
Yep.
That's what'll end up happening.
Yep. As fucked up as it is, I agree with you 100%. The only thing that's actually going to make him get fucking held accountable is going to be he's going to have to actually fucking kill someone.
And to be quite honest, I don't think a forced rehab is going to help him.
I don't either.
He needs more than a forced rehab. And
he knows too well at this point how to smile and say the right things.
Yep. What he needs is his family to step in. I mean, his family needs to step in and go, hey, and I'm not talking about his fiance or I'm talking about his brothers, his fucking parents, his kids need to step up as much as they've already been in a shitty situation. They need to get with the rest of them and go, Dad, this shit ain't working. Get your shit together.
Yeah.
They need to have that fucking, as much as I hate to say it, there needs to be an intervention there, and it has to come from the family. Because that might be the only thing that saves him. Otherwise, he's going to end up as one of those fucking dudes in a gutter somewhere, talking about how he used to live the high life.
Yep. Yeah, I agree completely. But John Jones is going to do what John Jones wants to do. So, unfortunately, at this point, all we can do is sit back and watch that fucking train rock off the rails, rather. But that being said, that is all the news we have got for this particular section. Do either of you gentlemen have anything that I might have missed? I think we're good then. Okay, so with that, this will be the point where I have to apologize to those poor folks who are only listening to the audio version of this show, because you are not going to get to see that sweet metal imposing GIF that pops on the screen to let all of the video viewers know that this is the point where we transition to the pit. Our little segment of the show where we take the fun of explaining and breaking down the cards and turn it into a little bit of a competition, a little bit of a game, much like Whose Line Is It Anyway? The rules are made up and the points don't matter, but we have fun with it anyway, God damn it. So leading into this week's pit, Golf Tee, did you get a chance to go back over last week?
Unfortunately, I did not with everything that's currently going on with family, with deaths and some other shit that's going on here. I'm did not get a chance. However, you guys scrum it up. I officially absolved my title as of last week when I didn't show, so it's up for grabs for whoever wants it.
Well, so going into last week, we did come in. RJ did give me the point for the victory on the previous week when we scrummed it out. So being as how we did not get an official ruling on last week's scoring, I will hereby rule last week's show a full no contest. No points for winning awarded to anyone. We'll call it no contest across the board.
The failure on the commission's part, I will take complete blame for that.
That's all right. I'm sure it'll come back to bite you in the ass later.
Probably. Which is fine.
Well, that being said, this week we actually have a duo of cards to talk about again. Tomorrow evening, we have got the Bellator 267, aka Bellator London card, returning back to Wembley Stadium in the UK. Bellator 267 for the rematch of Bellator proportions. Douglas Lima versus MVP, now with no title on the line thanks to Copp's weirdness. So we have got that one coming up tomorrow night, and then Saturday night back over on the UFC side of the house, we have got UFC Vegas 39, Santos versus Walker taking place. So for our first question, gentlemen, of the two cards we have got to look forward to this weekend, who is presenting us with a better co-main event? Golf Tee, since you were gone last weekend, we will give you the option to go first this week.
All right, I'll take that option. I'm that kind of person, yeah. Well, to be quite honest, I am not a fan of the women's co-main event over there, Jessica Borga and Leah McCourt. that fight I could honestly give two fucks about. UFC, not a whole lot better, except for the fact that Kevin Holland is in there, and Kevin Holland does like to talk trash. And to be quite honest, I'm thoroughly enjoying that. Not to mention, this week, as much as we bitch about fighter pay, he did make a very good point during a media scrum with his whole spiel on, look, you want to make more money? Fight more. That's all there is to it. Stop bitching about it. Get it. Everybody's got to get paid, including the fucking camera guy over there. The dude nailed that on the head to a T. So I say, pick up, watch Kevin Holland talk shit while he's beating Kyle Dawkins' ass.
Interesting. Okay, so same question over to you then, RJ. Of the two cards we've got presented this weekend, who do you think gives us the better co-main event option? Got to unmute first.
Why is it muting us? I did that shit last night too. I think I'm fucking tapping spacebar whenever I'm not fucking paying attention. No, I'm putting stuff on my fucking keyboard, and I think I'm just tapping the fucking spacebar like that.
Gotcha.
You need to go back to fondling the mic. That's the problem.
No, I'm putting my phone down in front of me, and I'm putting it directly in front of my fucking spacebar. I have to follow TJ on this. The UFC card for the co-main is a bit better than what it is over for the Bellator women's fight. I mean, you have Kevin Holland, who is very quickly running up the fucking ladder of the fucking weight division. And you have Kyle Dawkins, who's still pretty young in his infancy of working for the UFC. But I mean, he's got some decent hands at least. So he does have that. He's very comfortable and confident on his feet. But Kevin Holland is really gonna show him what's up with some groundwork, ground game. I think it's gonna be interesting. I think that's gonna be a very interesting fight.
Agreed. Okay. So, all things being relative here, we are going to give round one to RJ. Just went into a little more detail. I agree with both of you. I think it's the better co-main event. I like Leah McCourt. I think she's going to do a lot for the ladies side of MMA coming out of Ireland. I think she's going to do a hell of a lot more than some of the other ladies coming out of there have been doing lately. But I just don't think that matchup is going to be as good as Dawkins versus Holland. And I think Holland is getting a little, I don't want to say Holland's getting more hype than he deserves. I think that Dawkins is getting overlooked a little bit more here. We just saw last weekend what his brother is capable of. And if you've got a brother, you understand that generally gets passed back and forth when you're not at the gym. The home life will generally help to build that when you've got brothers that go into fighting. So I gotta feel like there's at least a little bit that might have rubbed off there. Will it be enough to shut Big Mouth up? I doubt it, but I think it's going to be an interesting fight.
I don't know that I can agree with that brother statement. Look at Douglas Lima's brother.
Well, to be fair, though, Diego Lima, much like a fucking Alexander Morono, much like a James Krause, has shown to be a much better coach than a fighter and spends more times coaching others than working on their own craft. So I get that side of it as well, too, because Diego is a badass in the gym, but he absolutely has a hard time turning it on when he gets in the octagon. When he's in the octagon, when he's in the corner, that motherfucker is on it. So I don't know.
I'm just saying the in octagon performance. I'm not talking about the coaching.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, you've got a great fight. Dawkins has got a great brother going there. I mean, just got himself a fucking main event spot. Coming off of a fucking gnarly knockout. That dude's on fire, but his brother's been hit or miss. That's the problem.
Yeah, I agree, but I don't know. I kind of feel like seeing as how we just saw Chris do that on his birthday, no less, last weekend. So gave himself a hell of a birthday present. You got to feel like a little bit of that fucking energy's got to carry over. You would hope, at least. I don't know if it's enough to get him to win. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like he's going to make it a little more competitive than I think a lot of people are giving him credit for.
Hopefully.
Right? Yeah, for his sake, I hope so. Because otherwise, we know damn well Holland to make a fucking highlight reel out of him real quick.
From his fucking knees.
Yeah, no shit from fucking anywhere, really. Shit. Oh, so in that same vein, for round 2 here, of the 2 ridiculous fucking pair of cards that we have got for the weekend here, who is giving us the better main event of the 2? RJ, will have you take this one first.
For me, I absolutely think it's the Bellator card, the Lima MVP2 fight. I mean, there's a lot of bad blood there coming back to the run back for them. I think that's gonna be fucking a beautiful fight. Both of them are fucking great fighters, very well rounded. That's gonna be another great fight for them. I think it really, I can't look at the UFC card because it's fucking Johnny Walker and Santos. Both of them are coming off fucking one's coming off a loss and is still not over his fucking leg injury, and one's coming off a win but also hasn't been able to fight because he's coming off an injury. I just don't see that being something that I'm worth watching. I don't think it's worth it. I think it's going to be a very lackluster fight. Bellator's main event is head and shoulders above what UFC's is.
Nice.
Go ahead, start my timer. I'm in 100% agreement with RJ, with the exception of one very large flaw that he pointed out. Michael Venom Page is a shitty mixed martial artist. He gets fed soup cans to look good. That's it. When he gets put against somebody with the likes of Douglas Lima or anybody with a name, the dude fucking folds. He's an absolute piece of shit and a garbage human being. So, yes, this is definitely the fight to watch so you can watch Michael Venom Page get his fucking teeth kicked in. If there was a curb, I would expect Douglas Lima to stomp him on that motherfucker because he is an absolute trash human being. And that's all that needs to be said about that fight. Go Douglas Lima. And to be quite honest, the UFC fucking main event is garbage.
I've got to say, I agree on both points here. Not to say that the SantosVsWalker fight doesn't make sense. I just don't think it makes sense as a main event. Honestly, genuinely not trying to be a fucking hater, not trying to talk shit. I legitimately see this as more of a premier prelim kind of fight. Like, I don't even honestly know that this would rank up there with a co-main event slot for me. I don't think it's going to be a horrible fight, but I don't think it's going to be that fucking good. I think it's going to be slightly above what we saw in Curtis Blades versus Rosenstrike last weekend.
It's definitely a hangover card, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for damn sure. So that being said, go Douglas Lima. I agree 100%. Fuck MVP. We're going to give round 2 to TJ. So for round 3 here, we're going to stay kind of similar in the vein that we like to around this point in the pit. For round 3, gentlemen, I would like to know, in your opinion, of the 2 fairly meh-ish cards that we've got between the 2 of them that hold us over for the weekend, what, in your opinion, is the dark horse fight of the whole weekend? We've got 2 very hit and miss cards, but there are a lot of fights to look at here. So for you, what's the dark horse fight that isn't getting talked about, the slept on fight of the weekend? Golf team, you'll get this one first. Got unmuted.
God damn it. All right. Well, to be quite honest, the one that I think is getting looked over the most is going to be the Krzysztof Jotko and Misha Serkinov fight. I really think that is going to be a fucking fantastic fight because, to be quite honest, you never know what you're going to get out of Serkinov. It's hit or miss with him. And Krzysztof Jotko looks like he's been working pretty well lately and moving in the right direction. So to be quite honest, I think that was a little slept on. That definitely could have taken, in my opinion, at least the co-main on that fucking card. Because to be quite honest, I don't think Kevin Holland should have gotten the co-main on that card. But that's just me. That But yeah, that's definitely going to be a sleeper of a fight because you haven't heard it talked about all week at all.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. They really haven't said fucking word one about that fight, which is kind of sad because I agree. I think that could be a pretty good banger. So, RJ, over to you. Your opinion of the most slept on, the dark horse fight of the weekend between these weird cards we've got here.
I am actually in agreement with TJ on this, mostly because, like, stylistically, it's just going to be a good fucking match. Both of them have good styles to be put against each other. I'm in an absolute agreement with what TJ said. Serkinkov has been hit and miss, but with his changeup going to middleweight, I think it's going to be really fucking beneficial for him. I think the pool of middleweight is vastly bigger. I think he's going to be able to really make a bigger splash in the middleweight division and to be able to do a little bit more, stretch his wings a little bit. Because he was just getting run over every single time. Over the last year, 2 years, he's just been run over every single time with just a new kid that was just quicker, faster, and better than him. So I think it's going to be the Serkinkov fight for me as well.
I definitely agree that is definitely one of the most undersold fights, I think, on the card. Absolutely. I will say honorable mention though. Antonina Shevchenko taking on Casey Neal, which is a fairly recently thrown together fight, is going to be a pretty good fucking banger, I think. But also B, honorable mention, the final year and a half in the making retirement fight of Betch Correia against Carol Rosa also takes place on the prelims on the UFC card, which I don't think is going to be a spectacular fight, but it's the last time we have to see that bitch one way or another. So I'm going to watch that one. That being said, we are going to go ahead and give round 3 to TJ here. I agree. Serkinkov is almost a definition of inconsistent at this point, and Jotko has been putting together his fucking pieces pretty damn well. So I think at this point, if he can do work against Serkinkov, they are really going to start to put a push behind him, and we're going to really start to see him get some big names here coming up soon. It's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out as well. So for round 4 here, stepping away a little different vein here. This hangover card is not that great. Bellator London is barely Bellator London. They've got one fucking fight that people really give a shit about. So, ignoring that for a second, thinking backwards to last week's fucking incredible 266 card that we got to see. Of all the craziness that we soaked in last weekend, what was your biggest takeaway from UFC 266? RJ, you can have this one first, sir.
The biggest takeaway? That Marlon and Rice can't fucking finish anybody anymore. For the last 2 years almost, he's been having a real hard time being able to put people away. And this past weekend, that was kind of really apparent because he fucking hurt Merab like 5 times and just could not do anything with it. He really needs to fucking get his shit together or go to another camp, figure out what the fuck he's doing wrong, and make changes, if he wants to stay in the limelight with his name being relevant and what the UFC is, where he's going to be fucking let go.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That was an absolute shit show, and not that it should have been an easy fight for him, but I think what he showed versus what we have seen him be capable of was a big difference. I agree. So, same question over to you, Mr. Golf T. Of all the fucking craziness that we saw take place last Saturday night, what was your biggest takeaway from UFC 266?
My biggest takeaway is Brian Ortega. For this reason, he's got the heart of a fucking lion, and he keeps going. But he is now to Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway what Alexander Gustafsson was to John Jones in DC. He is the third wheel in the relationship in the featherweight division. Unfortunately, it seems like every time he gets to that top of the pinnacle there, he's tripping over his dick. Don't get me wrong. There was a very close minute where that title could have changed hands. And hats off to Volkanovski for not fucking tapping out, because he looked finished with a couple of those chokes, but it's slowly turning into Brian Ortega being that third wheel, similar to Volkanovski was with Jones in DC.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that as well. That's actually a very, very good analogy. He really is, because we have seen basically Ortega can get past anyone in the top of 145 as long as their name is not Max Holloway or Alexander Volkanovski. And he looks pretty good in every fight we've seen him in, except for those two, really. I agree completely. I do have to say, though, round 4, we've got to give it to RJ here. Hats off, sir. Good call. 100%. Marlon Moraes, like, he was the magic man for a fucking reason. Like, that dude literally made people's jaws drop at the fucking otherworldly ass whippings he used to be able to dish out. And for whatever fucking reason, his last, 3-4 fights in a row now, he can Conor McGregor style dump that gas tank in round 1. But the second that fucking pedal comes up and that first round bell dings, it's like he forgets what the fuck he's doing. He did it against fucking Cejudo. He did it against Aldo. He did it against Marab now. Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on in Marlon's fucking camp. And I don't know if it's in his head or if it's in his camp, but I agree completely. He has got to change up something quick, because he is quickly pissing away all the great work he did to build his fucking legacy. I agree completely. So, if you guys are maths, you can tell that brings us to a tied up score, which means we have now got to go to the sudden death round. So for round 5, I've got an either or question for you gentlemen here. Last weekend, we saw 2 of the most surprising jiu-jitsu oriented losses in the MMA world in recent history, in my opinion. So, in your opinion, which of the 2 of them was the bigger surprise? Was it Brian Ortega sinking in that fucking darce that, as Alexander Volkanovski put it, was "fuck, I'm about to lose my belt" deep? Or was the bigger surprise Gabby Garcia getting put into a rear naked choke for the first time ever by Amanda Lemmy, and then losing because she couldn't fucking recover from it? One of the single most controversial jiu-jitsu upsets in a long fucking time, compared to T-City, who was putting his jiu-jitsu on fucking display and had Volkanovski himself admittedly fucking worried he was going to tap, or he was going to get put to sleep because he said he wouldn't tap. So which of those 2 jiu-jitsu upsets was the bigger surprise? Was it Ortega, who almost had it, or was it Garcia, who just couldn't recover when she finally had somebody take her back and try and choke her the fuck out? So We have no
I'm ready.
incoming contender here.
I'm ready.
All right. Well, we'll let Golf T take it first. Then he's chomping at the bit.
Look, the Volkanovski Ortega fight was fucking great. But watching Gabby Garcia, who is a fucking monster, by the way, if you guys don't watch that fucking grappling, she is a monster of a woman. But watching her get a rear naked choke sunk on her, not once, not twice, but about 4 different fucking times in that fucking roll, was on fucking fire. Absolute fire. And the amount of power that Gabby Garcia has for that side of the house is astronomically huge. That tells you Lemmy was on point doing everything she needed to do in order to be able to fucking get right. Go, if you haven't seen that, it is worth the watch, because that is the craziest shit that you will ever seen. Because you would look at her and it's literally Andre the Giant and fucking Mini-Me, basically, is what that looked like. And Mini-Me came out on top. I'm just saying that was way more surprising than Ortega sinking in a fucking choke. That dude has a legitimate Gracie black belt and is a fucking top level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner for a reason. So yeah, not surprising that he got Volkanovski, who doesn't have the same pedigree. Surprising, on the other hand, Gabby Garcia getting choked. Yeah, granted she didn't tap, but still surprising that she got choked more than once. Really fucking surprising.
I agree. I'm not gonna lie. I giggled a little bit when the commentator went, "Gabby Garcia's turning purple." Like, oh shit, this is serious. This isn't just a thing. Like, this is legit. It sure the fuck was, man. If you haven't seen, and it's only like a 12 or 15 minute long fucking match, I believe. So if you guys haven't seen that, I absolutely encourage you, once the show's over here in a few minutes, take a little time out and go watch it. If you're a fan of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's one of the most interesting and entertaining fucking things I have seen in a long goddamn time. And it is legitimately fucking historic in the value of the upset here.
Right.
Uh-oh.
We lost
As we said that, the kid dipped out. There we go. Okay.
My fucking internet buffered and kicked me off of Zoom.
Okay, well, we'll give you the allowance here, much like Brian Ortega got a little bit of extra time in the corner in between rounds there. We'll say that your coach has helped you to the stool, and we'll give you an extra long doctor's check here.
Yeah, like it was as TJ was talking, it froze. And I'm like, okay, it did this like 20 minutes ago. It's going to freeze itself in 4 seconds. And then I was, no. And then the audio cut. I'm like, fuck me. Bloop.
Shit. All right. So the question will be to you, sir. What was the bigger surprise of last weekend? Was it T-City getting that fucking Darson that almost won him the fucking belt? Or was it Gabby Garcia getting her first ever RNC sunk in on herself 4 fucking times, turning purple, and then losing the goddamn match because of it?
For me, it damn sure ain't Brian Ortega. Now, my only problem is Brian Ortega is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, put out a Darce choke. A Darce really isn't much of a choke. It's more of a half choke, half neck crank, more of a neck crank than what a choke is. Because you're only really wrapping and securing yourself on one side of the neck. You're not cutting off circulation from both sides. So kind of a choke. If you're sweaty, you can pop out of a Darce choke extremely fucking easily. It's not that fucking hard unless you do a shoulder drop or a shoulder roll. And then there's almost no fucking way that you're pulling out of a shoulder roll or a shoulder drop Darce choke. That's not that fucking impressive. Because if you can get that, congratulations. But if not, better luck next time. But quite literally the David versus Goliath setup of what fucking the Garcia fight was, that was fucking very much so fucking impressive. That you could get around somebody that was like 2 times your fucking size and be able to pull off a fucking victory over somebody that literally has never been fucking had somebody really take their back as dominantly as it was. That was way more impressive than a half-assed Darce choke that was in for a second, but then you just gave up on.
I agree. I will say the smoothness with which Ortega applied his multiple fucking very, very serious and very deep submission attempts onto Volkanovski, and some of the crazy fucking scrambles they were involved in to get those, hats the fuck off. You can tell that man definitely knows his fucking jujitsu. It's just all the rest of his fighting that really needs to touch up, in my opinion. On the other hand, though, I believe they said that Gabby weighed in at 297 and Amanda weighed in at 227 for that match. And you could abso-fucking-lutely tell those women are not the same fucking weight class. They are not the same goddamn size. I would not be surprised if Gabby cut weight to make 297, as big as she fucking looked in that fucking match against Amanda. But how fucking smooth Amanda was able to roll out from underneath that fucking pressure, jump around, lock in, and then switch every time Gabby came to hand fight was just, it was a chef's kiss moment. It was fucking beautiful, in my opinion. For all of the illegitimate fucking praise that Gabby gets in the jiu-jitsu world, to see someone as fucking legitimate and as bona fide as Amanda come in there and just dance the fuck around her and use Gabby's size to her own fucking disadvantage, and to play her like that was fucking beautiful. And like I said, I genuinely giggled out loud when the commentator yelled that Gabby was turning purple, because you could see the oh shit in her face in that moment. She was not used to that. She had never had anyone take her back and successfully sink a fucking RNC on her before, let alone one so deep that quick she was changing fucking colors. That tells you how solid that fucking grip was. And you could see Amanda was not fucking worried in the least bit. She knew exactly what the fuck she was doing. And every time Gabby would try and play, she would switch up and fucking roll back on top of her. So hats off to Amanda for making fucking history. I think that was a fucking spectacular match. TCD better get back to the fucking grinding. Better get back to the fucking chalkboard, man. You better get back to grinding. Fix it up, man. That whole new camp, better camp bullshit, air quotes for those listening, didn't work, dude. Didn't work. You got your ass beat just as bad, in my opinion, by Alex as you did by Max. So them top dudes, they got your fucking number. You better go back and fucking try and start all over again.
And abandoned going for Darce chokes. They're really easy to fucking get out of. If you
Honestly,
understand, if you understand them.
It sounds kind of like a dick move, but realistically, speaking from a realistic point of view, the best thing I think Brian Ortega could do at this point for his future is get away from Henner.
Yeah,
I get that that's your dude, that's been your dude since you were 16. You got your black belt through him. He's your jiu-jitsu coach. I get that. But Volkanovski made a very valid fucking point leading up into this fight. Henner is Brian's yes man. He doesn't tell him what he needs to hear. He tells him what he wants to hear. And we very much saw that in the fight. In the corners, Henner kept telling Brian, you're doing great. You're looking good. No, the fuck he was not. No, the fuck he was not. Henner was in there giving him the yes man answers instead of telling him the hard shit he need to fucking hear. And Brian lost that fight, man. Plain and simple. Brian lost that fucking fight.
I mean, if he wants to stay there with Henner, submission underground, I think he'd look pretty good over there.
Yeah, I agree. But if you want to stay in the UFC and you want to stay at the top in the UFC, time to shake that fucking camp again, T-City.
Change it all the way the fuck up.
Right. That being said, crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's, carrying all the ones here, we are going to have to give round 5 to Golfi. That is going to bring back the win once again for Golf T Vapes. We may well have to have a face-off between he and I again here to scratch off for the last round after this. Now we will see how that comes going into the future, though. We are going to go ahead and wrap that up for this particular episode. It is getting late. That is all we've got for this one here. So before we get all the fucking way out of here, I would like to thank these gentlemen for their time this fine evening here. And if folks would like to know what the newest training regiment is, how can they get a hold of you once the show is over, RJ?
You can always hit me up over there, Instagram at RJMMA official. You can catch me here on this channel every Thursday over at Golf T channel, Golf T Vapes channel. Every Wednesday, 9:30 Central Time, which is in the past for me because it's 10:30 my time. Get with the fucking program. You can always catch me over there at the I'm No True Discord channel, which is rolling down in the bottom of this broadcast the entire time on every fucking episode. It's there. It's also linked down in the description here on YouTube and over at anchor.fm/I'm No Joe, to where you can listen to the punchy-kicky on your podcast consumption platform of your choice through anchor.fm/I'm No Joe. Our Facebook, Instagram, all the social medias at /I'm No Joe. The Discord channel, our fan Q&A segment, a particular question for an individual here on the show, or just the show in general. Drop a question for us. I'm going on like a broken record with the fan Q&A segment, people. Somebody just come through just one time for us. Patreon at I'm No Joe. You can see all the good juiciness that we just can't show over here on YouTube's. You can see all the behind the scenes shenanigans that happens with the I'm No Joe crew. And of course, our OnlyFans /I'm No Joe. Whenever you just want to see some good deep fisting, people. OnlyFans /I'm No Joe.
Not bad. Not bad. We'll get you there again.
I'll get there.
We'll get you there again.
I'm just gonna write a script.
I was gonna say we're gonna have to get you a little script that you can just sticky tag or fucking post-it note to the side of your monitor there. We'll get you through it.
Nah, I'll just put it up on my second monitor.
There you go. Thank you very much for your time, sir. That being said, if at this point some folks need directions on where to find themselves the tastiest fried cheese curds in Wisconsin, maybe get themselves some directions on how to find the Kenosha Crippler himself while they're up there, how can they get a hold of you after the show, Golf T?
Wednesday nights, 9:30 Central, right here on the YouTubes. And of course, here every Thursday day can be, barring fucking craziness doesn't happen, which has happened this last week. But my apologies to you guys for not getting my homework done that I should have. Unfortunately, extenuating circumstances. But we'll definitely be here next week, Thursday as well. Definitely catch me here Wednesday nights and Thursday nights as well. Anytime that there is a card, barring crazy shit is going on, which seems to be the case fucking everywhere this week. So yeah, we're back at it, and thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time as well, sir. That being said, we are going to call that all for this particular episode. So like RJ said, you can catch us on pretty much every social media platform: Facebook.com/I'm No Joe, Instagram.com/I'm No Joe, YouTube.com/I'm No Joe for the video version of this live every Thursday night, 9:30-ish. If you want the facial free version, you can catch us in all audio format on anchor.fm/I'm No Joe to pick up through your podcast consumption platform of choice. If you want to support what we do around here, patreon.com/I'm No Joe gives you access to the behind the scenes, the unaired, and the literally unairable footage that we have got for I'm No Joe. Helps us do what we do around here. And if you're into hand play, onlyfans.com/I'm No Joe to get the absolutely thickest filling of punchy-kicky news you're going to get on the internet. That being said, if you like what we do around here, make sure you're subscribed, hit that little notification bell so you don't miss an episode, and give us a thumbs up if you like what we did. If we're just a couple of fuckheads talking out our asses without knowing what we're actually saying, though, go ahead and give us that thumbs down. We earned it and we won't dispute it. Either way, though, that's all we've got for this particular episode. So until next time, folks, remember, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything. Unless you really thought John Jones was going to Vegas and not getting in trouble.
was kung fu fighting. Those kicks were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times.